In today's episode of the Pathway Presents podcast, I have an interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Gianna Whitver, and she is hailing over as the co-founder of the Cybersecurity Marketing Society. So it's essentially a place where cybersecurity marketers network, share, and connect. Guys, we just recently launched an episode. It was, I think, last couple of days ago from Amablox. They were in the cybersecurity space. So today we're going to be learning, how marketers connect in those spheres and how they grow skills and come together. So pleased to have Gianna on the show. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Lucas. It's really nice to be here.
Awesome. So give us that 360 overview. What is the Cybersecurity Marketing Society all about?
Okay, awesome. And yeah, no, don't worry. It's a big name. We should have figured out a shorter name for it when we started. So the Cybersecurity Marketing Society is a private community of only cybersecurity marketers. And we created this group back in March of 2020, me and two co-founders who are also all executive level cybersecurity marketers at existing cybersecurity companies. Votiro, I'm currently and still at a company called Votiro. Our co-founder Aileen is at Cyvatar, and our co-founder Maria was at the time at Owl Cyber Defense and also Casada. And we decided to put the group together because we realized in the cybersecurity startup world, there's a couple of challenges that us marketers face. One, if you're at a startup, and it's likely you're at a startup because of all the venture capital funding all these amazing cybersecurity companies across the globe right now, cybersecurity is hot, hot, hot. If you're at a startup, you're likely to be one of a very small team or even just a solo marketer in the beginning. And that's challenge number one, because this ties directly to challenge number two. Challenge number two is that cybersecurity marketing is very, 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 very specific. It's way different than other B2B marketing. It's our buyers, our personas, our prospects are, they hate marketing a lot of the time. They are highly technical. If you're targeting, like security engineer, security architect, et cetera. And they smell through, can I curse on this podcast?
It's 3 times, yeah.
Oh, 3 times, okay, great. So my number one I'm gonna use, they smell through bullshit really, really easy. So when you're in this space as a marketer, you have to work really hard to understand the product, understand the persona, and make really good marketing that stands out in a super duper incredibly crowded field of other companies all kind of selling the same thing. So we started this community for that reason. We were like, we had been friends for a while. We had had this informal connection of, hey, calling each other up, hey, what are you seeing in the market, hey, whatever, what do you think about this tool, what do you think about this strategy, et cetera, et cetera. And we thought, well, hey, now it's COVID, now it's the pandemic, why don't we create a digital community just for us? And since then, so we started with 10 people that we invited directly. And since then, we've grown to over 750 cybersecurity marketers from around the globe. And that's a little bit about the society. We do, I'll say that was like the founding story. I'll say what we do too. So we have a private Slack community. We host events. We have an annual conference where we bring the best and the brightest cybersecurity marketers onto a digital stage every year. And we generally facilitate a feeling of community belonging, and also a really amazing networking opportunity for cybersecurity marketers. Our jobs board within our group is one of the most active channels in the group, because right now also I'll add in a third challenge for those who are in hiring positions. It's very, very, very hard to hire people who have cybersecurity marketing experience because we're in such demand because of just the vast volume of companies that exist. Yeah. So I hope that answered your question. I feel like it answered more than your question.
No, I think you gave a great overview about what you guys are doing, and it makes complete sense. And it's very interesting actually to start seeing communities to specialize out by your industry. I think that super makes the conversations just so much more relevant in there. Maybe tell us a little bit, how do folks hear about the Cybersecurity Marketing Society at the very moment? Like, is that people inviting other folks? Do you have to apply? Like, tell us a little bit more about how people hear about it and how they can join.
Yeah, so our largest acquisition channel is word of mouth. So I have followed the, who said this? I think Chris Walker at Refine Labs, put on your form a must be filled in field that says, how did you hear about us? And we process people via a vetted application. So they must fill out an application. We go and we check their LinkedIn. We double check that they're marketers. A lot of times we don't let in agencies, freelancers, et cetera, in order to create like a true sense of people being able to say what they want, and also recommend vendors, et cetera. So when they fill out that form on there, I have this, how did you hear about us required field. And most of our traffic comes from word of mouth. My coworker told me, oh, this person told me. And then our second highest channel is LinkedIn, because we market heavily on LinkedIn.
And now that you're building up a community, right? Like, what do you think? What role does the website actually play? Does a website, describing the community still play a big role? Like, how do you think about that? Or what are what's the role of the website in building the community?
Yeah, so the website does have a role. The website has an important role. The first thing we built was the website. Even actually before we launched the Slack, like we kind of did it website first, showed it to people, and people were like, oh, that's interesting. And then we threw up a Slack really fast after the fact. But the website, what we do is we do a lot of really good content, I'll say. So we have video interviews with experts, with people from our group. We've done workshops with PR companies, et cetera, and also with tech marketing executives that allowed our members to have like one-on-one access to these people. And we also produce reports and content, and all of those things live on our website. So right now, actually last week, I don't know when this will be going out, but just pretend it was last week. Last week, we launched a sort of like a premiere report. We did a survey of 200 and plus cybersecurity marketers from around the world. We surveyed them on their pain points, on their strategies, on how they're seeing the future and how they navigated marketing in this pandemic. Because fun fact, in cybersecurity marketing, a lot of people are lean really heavy on events. And when the pandemic happened, you couldn't do in-person events anymore, and everybody had to switch their strategy really fast to digital first experiences. So we did this report, and we have that hosted on our website now. And we've been promoting it via, LinkedIn and email and all of our other channels. And it is absolutely an attractor for people to join. We've had a lot of requests to join the society since launching that.
Yeah. Okay. Super interesting. Maybe one last bit on the dynamics of growth of the community. Like, what have you learned, or what is something that surprised you? That makes a community tick and actually engage? Because we've all been in like Slack channels where not that much is happening, but there's also these other communities which are thriving, and people actually start to really exchange in-depth insights and continue. Like, what have you learned? Like, what is something that is really key to run a community like that?
So one thing I take to heart is I treat everybody in the community as if they're my best friend, which is kind of a weird thing to say. But basically, whenever a member joins the community, we have a very good onboarding process of like making sure that we reach out, we say, hey, how are you? Like, how can we help you? Like, let us know if there's anything you want us to add to the community, if you see anything that's lacking. Members regularly ask, hey, can we add a channel on ABM? Can we add a channel on just analyst relations, et cetera, et cetera? And we will actively evolve the community to what the members are asking for, because members are what drive the community. So that's number one. Number two is we make active connections. So why does anyone join a community? It's because they want to meet people and they want to get better at whatever it is they're doing. You don't join a community and just sit there. If you do, then it's not a good community. Then it doesn't provide value to you. So we're always and constantly making connections between the members also. Yep. So whether it's for mentorship or because they want to try out a specific MarTech tool, and we happen to know that someone else has already used it, so we can make those connections, or for a job, someone's hiring and we know someone's looking. So also making connections is one of the best ways you can build a really strong community.
Okay, very cool. Awesome. Good. I would, love to switch gears a little bit and talk about one topic that has been, recently emerging on the podcast. And I'm quite curious because obviously you are in the cybersecurity world. Obviously security is not equal to privacy, but at least has some touch points to it to some degree. Now, and if it's nothing that has come up in the community, let me know, because we're just curious, how communities are talking about this. 2022, end of 2022, third-party cookies are going to be gone. That makes it difficult for marketers to do retargeting. Is that something that the cybersecurity marketing world is already talking about? Is it early? Like, what's your take on that?
No, okay. So we've been that's so funny because it is a topic in our community. Of course, marketers are talking about that, and Apple just did. If anyone has HubSpot, Apple did the change where now like you can't track as well the clicks and the opens on whoever's using Apple Mail, et cetera, et cetera. So that is a conversation point in the society. We share there are some vendors that that marketers work with that say, oh, it's not going to affect us. We use first party cookies, we use first party data, we use email, et cetera. What I've seen in the society and from the really cutting edge cybersecurity marketers is moving towards, creating their own media, media channels, their own media, owning their data, creating really good content so that people come back. And you don't have to rely as much on just, a totally random whoever who visited the site and no longer, and you just track them around the internet, et cetera, et cetera. So owning, getting people who want to view your content on a regular basis and they come back is something that has been talked about in the group.
Interesting. Cool. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about sort of your own way of, educating and learning for yourself. So there's a ton of content about marketing out there, probably not as much specifically on cybersecurity content. That's why you guys are having great content there. But how do you keep educating yourself? Like, what's your way? Is that from the community inside out? Do you, reports, LinkedIn, peer groups? What do you do?
It's totally from the community and from my peers. So I'm in a couple of other really good Slack communities with CMOs in it, and we also happen to have, and not, CMOs are not the end all be all of education, but they do have a lot to learn from. So we have some amazing CMOs in our community too, who are very open and happy to answer questions of people who, newbies and mid-level people who have questions, more specific questions. So that's where I learn. I also spend a lot of time on the internet and on a lot of different channels and on LinkedIn, and I'm constantly learning from other marketers now is who I mainly learn from.
Cool. To wrap it up today, I have some rapid fire questions. Are you ready for those?
Oh boy, yes.
They're a bit of a surprise. So the regulars, they know the questions, the regular listeners, and they know that the guests don't know. So it's always funny, but everybody survived so far. So let's get started. What is the last book you read?
Oh, okay. So I read The Martian really late. I know, because the movie came out, like 2 years ago now. So I read The Martian. That was pretty good. What's
one single thing that your company is focused on the most at the moment?
So for the society, it's member growth and member engagement. So that's two things, but member growth, I'd say number one.
If there would be no boundaries in tech, what's the one thing you would fix for your role today?
If there are no boundaries in tech, I would make our website much better. I would make it faster, stronger, higher ranking, and easier to navigate.
What's the last thing that kept you awake at night about the company?
Because we all work full-time jobs on top of doing this, is a lack of time. That keeps me up at night, which is counterproductive because you need to sleep. It makes it feel worse if you don't sleep.
Yeah. And for the last question, if you allow, I would do a little bit of time travel and go back to the Syracuse University, where you're heading out of formal education. My question would be, if today would be your first day out of formal education, heading off into the world of, marketing and growth? Like, what's the one advice you would give yourself?
Oh, that's a good one. I would just say be persistent and don't give up.
Very cool. Gianna, I really appreciate you took the time with us today and shared with us a bit about the cybersecurity marketing world and how the community functions and how how it's growing and your personal journey as well. I want to give you the last word. What should somebody be remembering if they forget everything that we discussed about the Cybersecurity Marketing Society?
Yeah, I would just remind them if they ever want to create a, regardless of who we are, if they ever want to create a community of their own, it's all about the members. It's not about you. It has to be about the members and making sure that every interaction you do and every step you take creates value for them. Otherwise, you'll have a very sad, dead community. And also you can find out more about the Cybersecurity Marketing Society at cybersecuritymarketingsociety.com.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Platform Presents.
Thank you, Lucas. This has been really fun.